Today, we are going to unpack one of the most famous and, most controversial ideas in all of psychology. Sigmund Freud's theory about how your childhood basically wrote the script for your entire adult life. I mean, really, have you ever stopped to think about it? Why do those first few years, those early memories, have such a powerful grip on who we are, even decades down the road?
Well, Freud's answer to that question was frankly mind-blowing for his time. He said we are absolutely not born as blank slates. Instead, our personality gets built piece by piece on the foundation of what happened to us when we were little. It's like those first moments are the blueprint for the adult you become.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at how our childhood leaves these permanent imprints on us. Then, we're going to dive into the hidden layers of the mind. After that, we'll take a journey through Freud's famous developmental stages, and finally, we'll put it all together to see how it creates the adult you are today.
So, first things first. Freud didn't see our development as this neat, predictable highway. No, for him, it was more like a winding, messy path full of internal battles. He believed our personalities are literally forged in the fire of these early conflicts. How we handle them shapes who we become.
And that brings us to a really key Freudian idea, fixation. Just imagine you're going through these developmental checkpoints. If you get stuck at one of them, maybe a need wasn't met, or maybe it was met too much, that conflict doesn't just go away. It can get locked in, echoing into your adult behaviors. It's like a little piece of you that never fully grew up.
But before we get into that journey through childhood, we kind of need a map of the mind, as Freud saw it. You have to understand this basic architecture to see how all these conflicts actually play out.
You've probably seen this before, right? Freud's famous iceberg model. The tiny little tip sticking out of the water, that's your conscious mind. It's what you're aware of right now. Just below the surface is the preconscious, stuff you can remember if you try. But the real powerhouse, the massive, hidden part of the iceberg underwater, that's the unconscious. And it's down there that our deepest desires, fears, and all those childhood memories are secretly running the show.
So our personality itself is made up of three parts that are kind of always in conflict. We're born as pure id. It's like the little devil on your shoulder that just wants pleasure and wants it now. As we grow and figure out we can't always get what we want, the ego develops. The ego is the realist, the negotiator. And finally, as we internalize all the rules from our parents and society, we develop the superego. That's the little angel on your other shoulder, your conscience.
Okay, now that we have our map and we know the players, let's start the journey. Freud said we all go through 5 psychosexual stages. He believed that our core life energy, he called it the libido, focuses on different pleasure zones in our body as we grow, and each stage has a specific conflict we have to resolve to move on.
And here's the path we're going to follow. We start at birth in the oral stage. Then we hit the anal and phallic stages. After that, we get a little break during the latency period before we finally land in the genital stage, which takes us all the way through adulthood.
Our journey kicks off in the oral stage. From the moment we're born to about a year and a half, a baby's entire world revolves around its mouth. Sucking, eating, it's not just about food, it's about comfort and security. The big conflict here is about dependency. Does the baby learn the world is a safe place where its needs will be met? Now, if that critical conflict isn't resolved, you can get a fixation. As an adult, this might show up in really literal ways, like biting your nails or overeating. Or it could be more symbolic, like being really emotionally dependent on other people to feel secure.
Okay, next up, between about 18 months and 3 years old, the focus shifts to the anal region. And yeah, this stage is all about one thing: toilet training. This is a huge power struggle. It's about control versus autonomy. For the first time, a child realizes they have control over their body, and they can either go along with their parents' rules or not.
And how parents deal with this can have a massive impact later on. A really strict approach might lead to what Freud called an anal retentive personality. Someone who is super neat, orderly, and maybe a bit controlling. But a really lenient approach could lead to the opposite, an anal expulsive type who's messy and disorganized.
From about age 3 to 6, we hit the phallic stage. Now this is where kids start to notice their genitals and the differences between boys and girls. And the main conflict here is the very famous and very controversial Oedipus complex. This is where a child develops feelings for the parent of the opposite sex and starts to see the same-sex parent as a rival.
So, successfully getting through this complex is a huge developmental milestone. The child eventually moves past that rivalry and starts to identify with the same-sex parent. I want to be like them. This is where we absorb their values, which really forms the core of our superego, or our conscience, and it lays the groundwork for our future identity and how we handle relationships.
Whew. After all that intensity, things finally chill out for a while. From age 6 all the way to puberty, we're in the latency period. The libido kind of goes dormant, and all that psychic energy gets pointed outwards, towards school, making friends, learning social rules. It's a really important time for building skills and figuring out how to get along with people.
And then puberty hits. The libido comes roaring back, and we enter the genital stage, which basically lasts for the rest of our lives. The focus is back on the genitals, but this time it's about mature, reciprocal relationships. The whole goal of this stage is to blend all the lessons from the previous stages so you can have a healthy, balanced adult life.
So, let's bring this all home. What does this all mean for the adult you are right now? Well, according to Freud, your personality isn't some fixed thing. It's the result of this constant, ongoing negotiation between your deepest, most primitive desires and the rules of the real world. Just think about it. Inside you, there's this constant battle going on. Your primal id is screaming, "I want it and I want it now." Your superego is wagging its finger, reminding you of all the shoulds and should-nots. And then there's your poor ego, stuck in the middle, just trying to broker a peace deal so you can get through the day. So what's the bottom line here? It's that the blueprints for your personality were drawn up a long, long time ago, back in your childhood. Those unconscious drives, those unresolved conflicts, they don't just disappear. They become the invisible currents that can guide your choices, your fears, and your relationships today, often without you even realizing it.
And that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. While a lot of Freud's ideas are still debated, his core message is still pretty powerful. The child really is the parent of the adult. So the question for you is, what parts of your childhood might still be pulling your strings today?